It's time for Reason.
5 states last night had their primaries, and the blue wave is not happening. The excitement, the activism, and right now the Republicans would have been able to maintain every single one of their seats in the 5 states, whether it was a House seat, whether it was a Senate seat, or whether it was the governorship or anything else locally that may have happened in those states. Republicans would have maintained every single one of them. Where's the blue wave, baby? Where is it? We're not seeing it.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Oh, man. Can you believe it? It's been a heck of a week this week. It has been a successful week. It's been a victorious week. Vinny Vinny Vici, baby. We came, we saw, we conquered when it came to conservatism, republicanism, and common sense across the board. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live in the heartland of America here in Wichita, Kansas on the Big Talker KQAM, simulcasting on KGPT TV, channel 2610, and across the entire Mid-America network. What's happening? It is your favorite day of the entire week. You finally made it. It is that time for a Friday, and let's make it a free-for-all Friday. As usual, this is your show today. Whatever's on your mind, bothering you, troubling you, it does not matter. I want to hear from you because you run the show on a Friday. Oh, yeah. That's what we're talking about. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, I'd love to hear from you today. As I mentioned, it's open lines to you on anything you want to talk about, something maybe we've touched on, not touched on. You can chat about. Really doesn't matter to me. We have a lot to get to today, a lot of fun stories. Also today being Friday and this weekend being a really great holiday and a really great celebration with Mother's Day. It's time for us to actually enjoy the mothers out there, your wives, your mothers, your grandmothers, whoever it may be that you hold near and dear to your heart. And I want to talk a little bit about that today because as we talk about progressivism and feminism and all of these different hashtag Me Too and some of the other movements that are happening today, what is the appropriate responsibility? What is the appropriate mental state? What is the appropriate priorities that the women of 2018 should have, regardless of your age? And that's really I want to have as the ongoing theme today. Whether you are a mother, whether you're a grandmother, whether you're a soon-to-be mother and you're younger, what priorities do you feel need to be in your life? And for men, come on. Our mothers helped raise us in a very large part. We have wives that are the mothers of our children, and they do more than we could ever ask them to do. So I heard a story, according to Channel 9 News. This is what they had to say about mothers and what they have to go through on a daily basis.
People say being a mom is a full-time job, right? Wrong. It is actually the equivalent of 2.5 full-time jobs. Juice company Welch's surveyed 2,000 American moms and looked into the real experiences and pressures they face on a daily basis. The study found the average mom clocks in at 6:23 a.m. and doesn't stop until 8:31 p.m. for a total of a 14-hour shift 7 days a week, which is the equivalent to 2.5 times more than the average job. And moms only get some me time for just an hour and 7 minutes of the day. So what are their go-to lifesavers? Moms said they rely on constant coffee supply, the ability to nap, being able to put on an effective angry voice, in addition to Netflix, wet wipes, toys, iPads, and wine. But even though it evidently seems like the toughest job in the world, it is also known for being the greatest.
There you go. So that's the latest story. 2.5. Being a mom, being a full-time mom, is equivalent to working 2.5 full-time jobs. Really puts it into perspective for you. I love that. What do moms look towards? Coffee, wine, and baby toys. That's what we have as a winner there. So I open it up to you today on the pre-Sunday's Mother Day celebration that we're going to have today on the show here. As a husband or as a son, what do you see as the role of the mother? And just give that shout out on what that importance is. Today, if you remember, the progressives, they don't want you to be homestaying as a mom, which many people don't, or many people want to, but aren't able to. But if you're a mom, what are your priorities? What do you see as the priority as a woman, as a wife, as a mother in today's society? Because you're being told that, number one, you should not stay at home in any way, shape, or form. And if you're that nurturing type of mom who wants to stay home and nurture your children, that you're probably the problem with society because you're not actually out contributing, fighting against the man. Remember, the man. In the workplace, because you're the one staying at home to having the babies and taking care and raising them while the man goes off and provides for you. And how dare you that you actually want to become dependent on the man. If you remember, though, there are many of those where the man pretends like he is the head of the household until the wife tells him otherwise, and then he pretty snaps in place. They always had the sayings that the good man always has a great woman behind him, that the man the man may be the head of the household, but the woman's the neck that actually turns the head, whatever you want to say. In any of these perspectives, it really shows that the women have so much power, so much influence in the family, whether they're working one or two jobs, whether they're staying at home and raising the children, no matter what they're doing. That they're the ones that actually have a lot of. So as a woman, I want to hear from you today. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. As a woman, what is your priority? What is your role? Are you one that feels that the child is the one most important thing to you and that you'd rather stay home with the child? Or is the career and going out and having the career and being one of the great providers for the family the priority for you in today's society? Along with the whole hashtag Me Too movement, how many women actually want to become the part of the hashtag Me Too and realize that they could be a victim or have been a victim and they want to stop that, or that they have power and control over men in that sense as well? There's a lot of different ways that we can go with this today on a Mother's Day, because today is the day for us to celebrate those special moms in our lives. So we do want to talk about that throughout the show today, and you're more than welcome to chime in on that. I saw a story, however, talking about the blue wave. I got into a discussion last night. There was a photo from Congressman Ron Estes on his Facebook page about him meeting with Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan was signing a bill, or at least approving of a bill that Congressman Estes had put up and actually wrote and presented to him. And I don't remember what the bill is right offhand, but I was reading through the comments. It's always fun on social media to read through some of the comments of what people are saying, whether they're liking, whether they're disagreeing, and whether they're actually wanting to have a dialogue disagreeing, or whether they're just name-calling disagreeing and then moving on and forgetting all about it. And one person just said, hey, hashtag the blue wave is coming. And the blue wave's coming, so you better pack up because you're going to get drowned in the blue ocean as the blue wave sweeps across this nation. And I found it extremely ironic because, as we've been hearing over and over and over from the progressives, thinking that they're all excited, thinking that they're energized, thinking that they're pumped up, ready to go, there's really nothing to this blue wave movement. And we've talked about the numbers after every single election that's happened over the last few months of special elections and getting ready for, in primary elections, getting ready for the midterm or the general election next November. And the numbers don't show it. The activists are the ones showing up. The activists are the ones that are actually turning out right now for the special elections or the primaries. But no one's showing up en masse to really scare Republicans. The media is trying to say that Ted Cruz is in panic mode because his opponent, the Democrats, being able to outraise him in fundraising. That's fine. That's great. He's still not going to get deseated. He's not going to have a problem with that seat. He's going to be just fine. There are many stories that came out about President Donald Trump saying that he's concerned about the midterm election because he doesn't, for one, want to lose his Republican majority to get things done. Number two, he's afraid that, according to the story, he's concerned that if the Democrats do get a majority in one of the chambers, then they're going to be able to begin the impeachment process. And I just chuckle. And is that what the Democrats are really campaigning on? Is an impeachment? If you elect me, then I will help begin the impeachment process of our current president of the United States. Is that really what the priority is for many individuals right now? Is that really what they're going to campaign on? Because I tell you what, if you try and campaign on that, you're going to lose. Now, if you actually have agenda-driven ideas, hey, I want to raise your taxes. Hey, I want to socialize medicine. Hey, I want to destroy the economy. If you had those types of campaign tactics, I mean, at least you'll fool Democrats in thinking that's a good idea, but not really anybody else, but you're playing to your base. That's really the whole point in politics, right? Is being able to go out and knock on the doors and campaign to the base of who you're trying to win over and saying, I love to raise your taxes because you don't deserve it, I do. I don't want you to open up a business because I like government regulation over your company, and you're really not supposed to have it anyways because you're kind of a rich and elite kind of guy if you want to open up your business, or gal. And if you're a woman especially, then we encourage you to be in the workforce and start your own business because that's great for women's rights and women's power and everything of that sort. But at the same time, we kind of want to kill off that incentive as well by regulating your business. We kind of want to tell you what kind of car you're allowed to drive or what kind of toilet paper you're allowed to use or what kind of light bulb you're allowed to turn on. We kind of want to tell you these things. And you're going to love it, and you're going to thank us for it. It's kind of one of those things where the bully's beating you up on the playground. Remember this back in the day? Or maybe you've had your kids go through this, where the kids getting beat up on the playground by the big bully, pounding them, and then he says, thank me for hitting you, and don't hit yourself, stop hitting yourself kind of thing. And he's holding the kid's arm, and he's punching him in the face. And the only way the kid knows how to stop it is to say, oh, thank you for beating me up. That's what the Democrats like to do. They beat you up, and they say, thank us for it. Because that's what progressivism really is. And that's really another story that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show as well, where they kind of go down that same kind of mentality. So let's take a break. When we come back, I found a story of the 6 Senate seats in the nation that are up for potential loss and a swing. And for the blue wave, it's really interesting to see what seats they are and who could potentially be filling them, and what's really going on in those districts. So we'll talk about that. Also, it is, again, a free-for-all Friday, so anything that is on your mind you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to do so today. We do have a guest in the 8 a.m. hour. At the bottom of the hour, this hour, we will play our interview with Congressman Ron Estes on the Farm Bill and the creation of that as well. Lots to get to today on a Friday. Stay here.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason on the Mid-American Network.
Past the hour. Welcome into the Voice of Reason on a Friday. It's great to have you along today. Welcome into it. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It's a free-for-all Friday. What's on your mind today? By the way, speaking about the blue wave here in Kansas, it ain't going to happen. That's cute. It's fun. It's entertaining, but it's not going to happen. We spoke with 2 state legislators yesterday as we're getting ready for the midterm elections coming up this fall. And Republicans are really only about 6 to 15 seats short of being able to either change them from Democrats to Republican or changing them from wishy-washy, non-pretend wannabe Republicans to actual real Republicans that will actually uphold Republican values. So we're really close throughout the entire state. And all we have to do is really focus on that. All we got to do is turn up to vote and actually show up and do something productive with the election coming up this fall. So once we do, then we might be able to see a bit of a change of tide with kind of what happens or what's been happening in the legislature over the last couple of years. On the national front, as I had mentioned, following this commentator on the post from Congressman Ron Estes as of last night saying, the blue wave's coming, you better get ready to move out of your seat there, buddy. It's not going to happen. And I reminded him that, first off, good luck with that. And the fact that Republicans didn't turn up to the last election for the special election last year with Congressman Ron Estes, and we still won by a 7-point margin, while the Democrats were all rallied up and excited and had their activists out there turning up. They just, number-wise, do not have the numbers to do anything in this 4th congressional district. It's not going to happen. In the 1st congressional district, out on the western part of the state there in Garden City, in that area, the big red one, again, you're not going to get it. Now, the only way you can is try and use the, and again, I guess I'm giving the enemy some help here, but the only way you're going to get some tactics or get an opportunity is to use the tactic that some have used at the statewide level by running as a Republican, but being on the very, very progressive left-leaning side of the aisle as a Republican. So you can say, yeah, I'm a Republican. I'm going to support conservative values, as they say it through their gritted teeth and a fake smile, and then they turn around and vote for everything as left-wing as they possibly can, and then they hope that people don't remember it or people don't acknowledge it or actually recognize it, and then when they do, then there's enough time for them to forget about it before the next election. That's how they've gotten away with it for so long at the statewide level. That's how many legislators have been able to get away with it. If you remember, we've read some of the ratings, the Freedom Index score ratings for many of our state legislators, and there are 2 senators who have the ultimate number 1 and 2 worst records for freedom and for liberty and for conservative values in the entire legislature, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian alike. There are 2 senators, and the absolute worst 2 that vote against liberty and freedom day in and day out, more so than anybody else in the entire Senate, are Republicans. Not Democrats, they are Republicans. And you want to know how the media portrays them as they are the moderate, bipartisan, middle-of-the-road Republicans. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? So here it is. Again, we try to do this every day.
Andy's optimism of the day.
All right, I'm ready.
Our optimism of the day is that it's not going to happen any longer. We've caught on to the game. We've realized what you're doing, and it's not going to happen any longer. And whether it is trying to start the blue wave here on the local front for many of the state legislative seats, maybe it's the blue wave trying to take over some of our congressional seats or our Senate seats, it's just not going to happen. For example, look at the 2nd congressional district this year. Lynn Jenkins retiring from that congressional seat, and many people ready to jump onto that one. There are, 8 or 9 Republicans in that race, and we're going to start talking to some of them, by the way. We've talked to Tyler Tannehill. He's the one that was giving away the AR-15 for the campaign, and we'll get him back on the program as well. But next week we have Steve Watkins, I believe. We have Lieutenant Colonel Steve Fitzgerald and a few others that we're going to try and get on the show that are all running for that 2nd congressional seat. It's going to be a hotly contested seat, and right now, listening to some of them, I got to hear a lot of them speak at the Second Amendment, the Kansas State Rifle Association's annual meeting a few weeks ago, and they were up there and they participated and they sponsored it and they spoke. And I tell you what, I am so glad. Let me just say this. I am so glad that I do not live in the 2nd congressional district, because they're going to have one hell of a time trying to find the right candidate. There are some solid candidates up there. There are some really great ideas. It's really who's going to be more charming, I guess, to be able to win over enough people. Because there are some really, really great ideas and some really great candidates up there. There's some not so good ones as well, obviously, but there are some really great ones, and I'm really glad I don't live in that district, because I would have a very hard time deciding on who would actually represent me in that district and who I'd want to represent in that primary election. So we'll talk with some of them. I know that we don't necessarily bleed into the 2nd district per se very much, but we do have a lot of listeners that listen online from up there, and it's good to know what's happening in other parts of the state as well, so we will be chatting with some of them pretty soon. But that's an example of it. Try a blue wave movement in that district. Try to make that a blue one. I know Lynn Jenkins was kind of a moderate candidate at times, or a moderate congresswoman at times, and sometimes she kind of swung to the other side and kind of voted a little wishy-washy at times. But at the same time, it's a very interesting district. And I'm sure there were pressures. I'm sure there was internal politics, things that we didn't know about, whatever. And it's a very odd district to where you have to kind of play your cards right in that one. So, and nothing against it. I'm just saying that's just the reality of the politics. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's the way it actually is. And Democrats are going to try and take it, but there's not as much of a fiery excitement on the left as there is on the right. Why? Because I've said it before and been saying it all this week.
Winning.
We've been dominating the discussion. We've been dominating policy, and we've been seeing activity and accomplishments. And that's what the American voters have been wanting for a really, really long time. Lots more coming up. Bottom of the hour news. We'll get your thoughts and calls when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire. No, we didn't light it.
Keeping reason in the world of politics.
But if you're really angry, why in the first place are you not frustrated and angry to the fact that you have to spend $250 to $600 of your own cash to be able to provide resources in the classroom?
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Oh, yeah, we're just having a little fun today, aren't we? It's a free-for-all Friday. Welcome into it. Happy soon-to-be Mother's Day. The question still stands: as a mother, what is your priority as a wife in society today? Is it the to hell with staying at home, I got my career to do, or is it the, you know what, my children come first and that's what my priority is going to be? It's kind of an interesting tug-of-war game, or trying to do both, which I don't even know how you try and do that. I know a lot of people try it. I just don't know how you do it. 316-721-8255. We'll touch on that throughout the show today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I want to shift gears for a minute, though, as we talked with Congressman Ron Estes yesterday, the 4th Congressional District here in the Wichita area, as we chatted with about the Farm Bill. And as you know, the Farm Bill is being created this year for the Farm Bill 2018. 80% of the funding of the Farm Bill, though, is still going towards social programs, which is just fantastic, right? It's going towards the food stamp program. It's not necessarily going towards the actual farmer, which you would think would be the actual priority, but no, that's not the case. So we sat down yesterday with Congressman Ron Estes talking about the Farm Bill and upcoming spending bills, along with some of the cuts that we may see at the federal level, which is good news. This is what Congressman Estes had to say yesterday on The Voice of Reason. Congressman Ron Estes on the line with us. Congressman, how are you, my friend?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Andy?
Hey, we're living the dream. More fun every single day. One of the big issues, and I wanted to bring you on to talk about some of the details about this. I know many of our listeners are very interested in it, but this is the year where we start discussing the Farm Bill 2018, and there's been a lot of hubbub about it this year as we're trying to maybe weed out and cut out some of the fat in there, maybe try and cut some of or reform some of the social programs in there, some of the details on crop insurance or on the farm, on the farmers themselves. But from your perspective, what's been the latest discussion that you've heard when it comes to the Farm Bill for 2018?
Yeah, we have a Farm Bill reauthorization every 5 years, and it actually kind of calling it Farm Bill is a bit of a misnomer because 80% of it deals with food stamps. So, almost ought to call it Farm Bill and Food Stamp Bill. But we really, we want to provide that safety net for the farmers so that, when there's issues with drought, it doesn't turn into a FEMA issue, but it provides good crop insurance as a good backstop for our farming community, and also provide some good things like, over $1.1 billion for rural broadband, and help strengthen some of the programs like cotton had its own special program. Now that's being pulled into Title I. Same with dairy. Kind of streamline and make it a little bit more efficient. But part of the thing that I'm most excited about it is that on that food stamp side, that piece that deals with these quote-unquote entitlements, is that we're proposing, and we want to get through the House, to have work requirements. Now, that's something that Kansas and one or two other states like Maine have done with some of their programs, but we want to make that nationwide and require that if you're getting food stamps, if you're between the ages of 18 and 59, if you're not disabled, and if you're not taking care of a child under 6 years old, that you at least ought to put some work effort in to the assistance you're getting. And the way the program is set up is that 20 hours of work a week to be able to do that, or in lieu of that, have the being involved in some work-related education activities. Our whole intent is, we want to provide the backstop for people that temporarily need assistance, and we want to make sure that they have the best tools available so that they can get on with their life and get their career started and help provide for themselves and their family.
It is a crazy, wild, out-of-this-world, insane concept to want to actually have people work a little bit to be able to receive some of the benefits. And 20 hours a week isn't very much, but I'm sure that you guys are getting heat and attacks from the left and right, wanting to come after you and saying, how dare you actually want to make these people have a minimum 20-hour work requirement to be able to receive some of these benefits?
It really is. I mean, that's part of one of the sad things in politics now. So many people demagogue things. And let's take a step back and think about, Americans are kind-hearted. We want to help people that, are downtrodden or through no fault of their own are having issues. But we also have an expectation that, particularly, if you're getting subsistence of some sort, that you do get engaged in improving yourself, engaged in work. We know at the end of the day, you'll end up with more money if you have a job on your own, and so we want to help people do that. And so that's built into the Farm Bill. I also introduced a HOPE Act for trying to provide some of these provisions. I actually introduced it before the Farm Bill went to the committee, and basically was just trying to bring up some of these great provisions that Kansas was doing, eliminating some of the the things out there like the broad-based eligibility. So I don't know if you knew it, but in some states, if you just apply for a brochure about TANF, that you can automatically be entitled to be enrolled in food stamps. Yeah. So silly stuff like that that's out there. We need to make sure that the funds that we want to help people with actually get to the people that really need it, and that there is some expectation on the part of people receiving assistance to work to take care of themselves, take care of their family, and ultimately, ideally, work themselves off of assistance and better their own lives.
Sure. The media is reporting that if we do these type of work requirements, that it could cut close to 2 million people off of the program, and that they'd be living on the streets and dying in the streets and dying under bridges and that sort of thing. The question is, how many people would be potentially affected if we put a work requirement in, and how much money could we potentially be saving from some of these social programs that would be a good start to beginning to reform some of these programs?
Yeah. Well, there's 6 million people right now between the ages of 18 and 59 that able-bodied, work-capable individuals that aren't working, and so we think, and at the same time, we have jobs that are open, and we need people to fill those jobs. And so, as the economy continues to grow, we want to make sure that people have the thought process that, hey, I'm getting this assistance right now, but I need to get into a job so I can help make myself better, make my family better off.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a step closer, and I think that we're in the right way to actually make that happen. So if we do end up seeing people go back to work, not only would that help the economy and boost the economy, but then we're going to see the downtick in some of the people needing the social program. Hopefully, the price of the social program would go down. I know that every time that we talk about not even cutting some of these social programs, but just slowing the growth of some of these, then everybody freaks out and panics because how dare we actually do this major cut of a 1% slowing of the growth? But if less people are using it, then why do we need so much money going into the program, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, it's actually a win-win situation from the standpoint of people working, bringing more income to themselves, also having been able to pay taxes for the income that they bring in, and being able to draw less on the subsistence, so that that costs less, and ultimately it ends up helping us balance our budget. Because that's a huge issue right now that we've got with the federal government, is that we're $21 trillion in debt, and we've got to rein in the spending, out of control spending, more so than the revenue we've got coming in.
Sure. Here's the question. I know you guys are working on this on the House side, and I think it has the potential to go through. The House seems to be a little more active in actually getting some productive legislation out. Do you think that it can go through the Senate? I know some Republicans even come out and said, yeah, no, we don't like the fact that we're going to cut some of this or put work requirements in. Do you see this actually getting to the president's desk? Because I know he'd sign it if it gets there, but it's just getting it to him is going to be the big obstacle.
Well, I know Senator Roberts has been working really hard on the Farm Bill on the Senate side. I don't know enough about what the provisions that the senators are talking back and forth. I know part of the discussion is I think they're partly waiting to see what provisions come out of the House, so that they don't necessarily have to take a stand until they see what comes from the House chamber to actually move this forward. And I'm optimistic. I do know it's going to be a struggle to get enough Senate votes. We've seen over and over again the last couple of years the Senate's just been slow and or obstructing things. I mean, we had the whole Schumer shutdown around running our government just because they wanted to stop the process.
Sure. Very good. We're talking with Congressman Ron Estes, 4th Congressional District. We got a few minutes left. I know that you got to run here in a bit, but I do want to ask you as well, as we're talking about the social programs, reforming, cutting spending, and trying to get our budget under control somewhat. President Trump came out with his announcement saying that he wants to cut close to $15 billion in a Trump rescission proposal, and many of that coming from the CHIP program and some of the other social programs. Of course, as usual, the progressives freak out and panic and say that we're going to have kids and parents dying out in the streets and so on and so forth. But we have a huge opportunity right now, as we've talked about before, with the appropriations process that's going to begin very soon, as well as just the budget that Trump's proposing with a lot of these cuts. Do we see some good opportunity and some good movement on these discussions?
Oh, this is a great idea. I was one of the first members to call for recession, that we need to keep moving forward in that process. It used to be common practice back when President Carter and President Reagan and President Bush and President Clinton, they did hundreds of rescissions during their term. And basically what a rescission is it cuts out a program that's not being used or money that's parked in an account somewhere that either is not available to spend because the need's gone away or the appropriation process has gone away. And so the $15 billion that President Trump's proposed, it consists of things like an energy program that hasn't been used since 2011. It has money from the stimulus program way back after the recession in 2008. The CHIP program that a lot of people are being demagogues about, the Children's Health Program. We just reauthorized the Children's Health Program for 10 years, longest extension ever having that program. That program's funded, ready to move forward. The money that President's going to strike with the rescission is money that was set aside in the original version of the previous version of the program. The authority to spend it has expired, so it's not needed. I mean, it's just sitting over there as an authority to spend or sitting in an account, and we don't need it. So all of these people that are crying that it's going to take money away from the intended recipients is just wrong. We've got a program that's working, fully funded, and we need to clean up our act and make sure that we get some of this wild spending under control.
Boy,
it's
how
a
true
small
is that?
step, but it's a starting step. It's a small one, but we got to do more of that.
Shocker, right? That's Congressman Ron Estes. We chatted with him yesterday. Shocker that we would have programs that are completely fully funded. Everybody's getting taken care of, but then we have extra money that they don't need that they want to hang on to because it's the government's money, not yours, right? Welcome to the bureaucracy, ladies and gentlemen. Take one more break, wrapping up hour number one. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Market information from Mid-America Ag Network.
Six minutes at the top of the hour. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM across the entire Mid-America Network. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It is a Friday. It is the Friday before Mother's Day. It is also a free-for-all Friday, and as you know, it's also a Fried Chicken Friday. 112 South Main Street in downtown Inman is the Inman Harvest Cafe Fried Chicken Friday. Their buffet from 11 to 1, their big buffet from 5 to 8 o'clock tonight. Katie's on the line with us. Katie, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Andy. Happy Fried Chicken Friday. We're rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling. That's the way we roll. I have to say, last week you had mentioned about the garage sales that were happening up in Inman, and we thought it was, and I got to say, it's a heck of a way just to get out of town a little bit. I've been feeling a little claustrophobic within city limits because you never get out of town for a while. So got out, got to head up there, got to go see some of the garage sales, and finally, Katie, got to try the bumbleberry pie. Well, you know, like those moments when like the clouds clear and like heaven just descends upon earth.
Yes.
That was the bumbleberry pie right there. That was the bumbleberry pie. That was outstanding. So I appreciate that. We got to go up. We got to enjoy Inman for a little bit. Go do the garage sailing throughout the entire day. Got some fun goodies, and then got to stop by and try not only that, but then the burger as well, and it was fantastic. So I appreciate that, and it was a lot of fun, and I absolutely loved and enjoyed that bumbleberry pie.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you came.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So this week, what do you have on the slate for us today for your Fried Chicken Friday?
Okay, so today we are having a garlic and dill baked tilapia, so it's got a butter garlic sauce over it. Real butter, okay, so you're not going to find that just everywhere. In fact, I've never found it anywhere besides here, where we just use butter. It's not a butter sauce, it's not a butter blend, it's not a butter flavoring, it's just butter. Okay, so butter, garlic, butter, garlic, salt, and dill. That's it. We put it on the fish. Bake it up. It's really tender and delicious. So we're having that. We're having something new, pork tetrazzini. So it's like spaghetti noodles, and then you got some pork on top of that, and then over that you pour a white sauce that has chicken broth and cheese, because cheese is
It's
amazing.
cheese.
It's got some basil in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, butter and cheese. What
So
more can we
those-
ask for?
I know, not much. And then, of course, from 5 to 8 tonight, if you come, the buffet will have our famous roast beef out there, and then it comes with pie. So let's check out the pie list real quick. We've got coconut cream, chocolate cream, key lime cream cheese, rhubarb, oatmeal raisin, that's kind of like a cookie pie, cherry custard banana split. So those are the ones that we've got out there right now. This afternoon, who knows?
You may have a couple specialties out there. That's right. And that is that free
We
size.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like to mix it all up in the afternoon. You never know what we're going to do.
You never know what. That's all right. Whatever you're feeling for in the mood of that time. But it is that free slice of pie for the buffet tonight, 5 to 8 o'clock. You get the big buffet, but along with that, you get the free slice of pie that you're not going to want to miss out on. So a great lineup of pies, and that tilapia sounds good. You know, I've never been much of a fish person, but I've kind of gotten into it over the last few months, and that sounds kind of yummy.
Some people really, really enjoy fish, and other people won't touch it. But that's the great part about a buffet is, if there's something out there that you don't really care about, you don't like it that much, it's okay because there's like a whole bunch of other stuff that's equally delicious and homemade. So.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about. It is the buffet, 11 to 1 for the lunchtime one, the big one from 5 to 8 o'clock tonight, the free slice of pie, the wheelbarrows sold separately outside the door to be able to get out to your vehicle afterwards there. Check them out, 112 South Main Street, downtown Inman. It's the Inman Harvest Cafe, 620-585-6925 to give them a call, or inmanharvestcafe.com. Katie, you guys enjoy. It's going to be a heck of a day today. It's going to be another beautiful day today, and we'll check in with you here in a couple hours again.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Very good. Appreciate that very much. That's Katie with the Inman Harvest Cafe. We appreciate them partnering up with us here on The Voice of Reason. When we come back in hour number 2, I want to shift gears back to, it is a Friday. I do want to talk about some politics, as it is a political talk show, but at the same time, I do want to talk about Mother's Day and put a little political twist onto it. And the theme of the day, of course, is Mother's Day. All you mothers, I want to ask you some serious questions. It is very difficult to be a man or a woman or an other in society today, whatever you self-identify as. I don't really know and I don't really care. But as a mother and as the one who really is the nurturing one in many families for the children, as we talk about children and education and everything that goes along with that, there's some serious questions that I want to ask you, and I want to get your take on this coming up in hour number 2. So we'll do that on a special Friday before Mother's Day episode. This is The Voice of Reason. Hour number 2 coming up. Don't miss it.
It's time for Reason.
5 states last night had their primaries, and the blue wave is not happening. The excitement, the activism, and right now the Republicans would have been able to maintain every single one of their seats in the 5 states, whether it was a House seat, whether it was a Senate seat, or whether it was the governorship or anything else locally that may have happened in those states. Republicans would have maintained every single one of them. Where's the blue wave, baby? Where is it? We're not seeing it.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live in the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM simulcasting on KGPT TV, channel 2610. What's up? Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 2 on a Friday. It's not just a Friday, but what the heck? Let's make it a free-for-all Friday. We do it every single week. Today is the day where I open up lines to you to talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's your topics, your discussion, your venting. I'm just here to moderate. Let's do it. Come on. All right. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We also have the Facebook live feed up and rolling today. Check it out, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Like it, share it, leave a comment, ask a question. A lot of people are very active on it this morning, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you Thank you for checking it out. Facebook.com/1480 KQAM. We are also on Twitter at Hoosier Reason, and you can also email me, Andy, at KQAMradio.com. There's a lot to get to today. Coming up in hour number 3, we're going to have Soraya Deen with the Clarion Project talking about free speech and radical Islam in the Middle East. So we'll chat about that in just a little bit. But this Sunday is Mother's Day, and we do want to give appropriate time and respect for that. And I teased this a little bit in the first hour, but here's the question I have for you. Women, whether you're a mother, whether you're a soon-to-be mother, whether you have been a mother, whether you are a grandmother, and you've gone through the process multiple times now, the question I have for you, have you seen, obviously you have seen it, but what kind of changes have you seen in society on what the accepted role of the wife/mother has been in society? Before, it's always been, well, the mother kind of stays at home and takes care of the children and does the home duties while the man goes out and provides for the family and goes to work. And that was the traditional kind of family style. Nowadays, with the progressive movement, they say that if you do that, I mean, we want women's choice, which I believe in. Absolutely. You have the choice to do whatever you want to do. When it comes to work, when it comes to starting a career, when it comes to having the family, when it comes to not wanting to have a family, it's your choice. You get to choose that. But the choice is also part of that being a choice, is the choice is if you want to continue to be at home and nurture your children and take care and provide for your family in that sense. That is a choice. And if you choose to do that, all the power to you. However, many progressives today say that if you choose that type of lifestyle, then you are the problem with society. And you've heard this for a long time now, haven't you? That if you don't want the career, then you are the problem with society, because women should be out in the workforce competing against men and then trying to dominate men when it comes to the workforce. And as I mentioned in the last hour, that if you recognize any type of happy family home, that the man may technically, quote unquote, be the quote unquote head of the household, but at the same time as he's the head, the woman and the wife and the mother is the neck that actually turns the head and makes things happen. She's the brains of the operation. Behind every good man is a fantastic woman. And that's the way that it's been, and that's the way I was always taught. And it's very true. Now that I see it, I mean, come on, I cannot do what I do on the radio here on a daily basis without my wife and what she does for us and for me and for the family. I can't. I don't know how she does it. Then I see this story that says that mothers that stay at home have a bit of a crazy lifestyle, which I can always attest to because I can see what my wife goes through, and I know that you've been experiencing that as well. But here's the story according to Channel 9 News out of Chicago on what they found out with a Gerber study.
People say being a mom is a full-time job, right? Wrong. It is actually the equivalent of 2.5 full-time jobs. Juice company Welch's surveyed 2,000 American moms and looked into the real experiences and pressures they face on a daily basis. The study found the average mom clocks in at 6:23 a.m. and doesn't stop until 8:31 p.m. for a total of a 14-hour shift 7 days a week, which is the equivalent to 2.5 times more than the average job. And moms only get some me time for just an hour and 7 minutes of the day. So what are their go-to lifesavers? Mom said they rely on constant coffee supply, the ability to nap, being able to put on an effective angry voice, in addition to Netflix, wet wipes, toys, iPads, and wine. But even though it evidently seems like the toughest job in the world, it is also known for being the greatest.
There it is. So that's the latest. I love the fact that what do they depend on? Coffee, wine, and naps with a loud, angry voice. I love it. I love it. So here's the question I have for you, mothers. What do you feel in society today is the accepted role of a wife/mother? What is that accepted role? Is it your preference to stay at home, to nurture the family, to nurture the children, to take care of the husband while he goes and works? Is that the accepted role today? Or is it the accepted role now and today of you want to go out and be the career woman? You want to go have a successful career. You want to be the breadwinner. You don't want to have to rely on the husband. Now, let me tell you, there are strong women on both fronts of that. My wife is a very, very strong woman. She had her career. She's done great things with her career, and I found that very attractive. And I found her strong will very, very attractive, and that's why I was drawn to her. Now, her ideal position, her ideal job, her ideal goal, which is what she's doing now, and thankfully we have the opportunity to do so, is for her to be the stay-at-home mom, to take care of the home, to take care of our soon-to-be 4-year-old in a couple of weeks and to take care of me because I'm just like that too. I kind of like to be babied a little bit because, she's my wife and I enjoy that. And most guys do. Don't try and hide it, guys. I know you do. So what is the appropriate role in society today? What is accepted as the appropriate role of the woman? Because again, even though that you may be the stay-at-home mom that's really equivalent to 2.5 full-time jobs, the progressive women say that you wanting to do that is an abomination to women, and you should walk away from that and go into society and try and challenge men for the careers. So that's a question I have for you. And as for men, what type of roles do you like your wife / your mother to be in? Maybe you saw your mom go through hardships and have to work 2 or 3 jobs. Maybe you saw your mom be able to stay at home and take care of you, and she really got to spend that time helping nurture and raise you the way that they needed. So that's the question I have for you today. What is the proper role of a mother in society 2018? Because times have changed dramatically, and we need to stay up on this, on what's approved and what's not approved and what should be done. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Eddie, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I have 2 comments. The first comment is what my wife did was that up until the children were in kindergarten or first grade, she was a stay-at-home mother.
Okay.
But once the children got into school, that meant that they were gone between 9 and 4 for the day. And she went out and had a full-time job, and she had a very successful career and retired after 26 years from a excellent company, and that's the way I look at it. And number 2 is what's the talk of our neighborhood where I live, and that is that no matter what happens to Commissioner O'Donnell and his problems doesn't make any difference. The fact that he did not stand up for the citizens of Southwest Sedgwick County when the chicken farm was there, he's not going to be voted back in anyway.
Ooh.
So no matter what happens, he's going to be gone.
So he burned some bridge regardless of whether the scandal actually was true or not, but just the fact that many people upset with the way he actually handled some of the policy issues in the area that may harm him.
Well, no matter what, yes, sir, because now Commissioner Howe, I love that man. I think he is a jewel of a county commissioner because I have seen him, and this is a prime example of how beautiful of a man that is. There were 3 or 4 citizens in southeast Sedgwick County that was in his district that did not want to have a cell phone tower. He stood with those 3 or 4 individuals against the rest of the county commission and voted no on the cell phone tower. In other words, there was 1 vote for no and there was 4 votes for yes.
Sure.
And he stood. And Commissioner Howe is so beautiful and so honest and so good, and so are the others. But our county commissioner, you didn't see him come out and stand. Now, if you would have gone down in the Southwest Sedgwick County, property after property after property, it said, no Tyson, no Tyson, no Tyson. In fact, I think the owner of your radio station lives down in that area. I think he's lived down in that area, or his family has forever. How would he like to have a damn chicken processing farm or a chicken farm right beside him? And because O'Donnell did not stand with those people, he's going to be voted. You can't vote him out. He's not going to be reelected.
Not going to be reelected. Well, that's an interesting point.
And we're going to have a beautiful candidate like Commissioner Howe, or that will stand with the citizens of Southwest Sedgwick County. I've been a resident for Southwest Sedgwick County for over 50 years, and we want a person that's going to stand with us, and not a person that's going to sell us out to a damn chicken farm. I mean, it's I think when it comes to O'Donnell, I think the chickens are coming home to roost on that poor boy.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. There you go. I love it. Yes.
Hey, but by the way, that chicken lady up in Inman, Kansas,
yes.
Oh, my wife and I, we've just got to go up there because first of all, we like the way she sounds to begin with, and second of all, we just love the food that she's describing, and we're going to my wife and I, we're crazy. We'll drive 100 miles for a meal, and we're going to drive up there and have a beautiful meal.
Oh, that's very good to hear. You know what? We have a lot of restaurant and food sponsors on KQAM airwaves and for the Voice of Reason, and I love all of them, and that's one of them that I do enjoy and have been able to go up and enjoy a little bit. And it's nice just to get out of town a little bit and cruise up there, isn't it?
Oh, we do it every weekend. We have a brand new car, and my wife is, oh God, she just puts thousands of miles on it, which is, God bless her. She was a beautiful mother. She was a beautiful wife. We raised beautiful children, and all families deserve to have a beautiful mother.
Absolutely.
All children.
There it
forever
is.
and ever and ever. And sounds like your wife is a beautiful, beautiful person. You are blessed.
Absolutely.
And so is your little child.
Absolutely. I tell you what, I couldn't ask for more with the wife, with the child that I have, and it is a blessing to be able to come home every single day to them. And I wouldn't be able to sound as excited to get myself up and going every single day like I do without their support. And that's really the truth of it.
Anyway, Andy, you have the most beautiful day. I love you to death, and everything's beautiful. Take care.
I love it, Eddie. Have a great weekend, and I appreciate the phone call very much so. I tell you what, you're making me hungry now. Thank you. Talking about the Inman Harvest Cafe, thinking about all the restaurants that we have on the station with Jimmy's Egg, with Riverside Cafe. I'm still going to try, by the way, that 3-pound burger at Riverside Cafe. It's probably going to happen next week. I'm going to do this because that sounds heavenly as well. I'm just hungry now. Thank you very much for bringing that back up and remind me of that one. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Let's go to the phone, take another phone call. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, good morning. It's Drew.
Drew, how are you, sir?
I'm mildly amused.
Mildly amused, okay.
Yeah, because we're seeing a repeat amongst some of these folks in Representative O'Donnell, or Commissioner O'Donnell's district of the chicken farm. Okay. And I'm sorry, if you're going to vote against O'Donnell because of his stand on the chicken farm, well, you're a frickin' idiot. I mean,
well, I
wouldn't say. I'm not going to. No, I will, and I'm going to say why. Because there was so much things going on where everybody thought they knew something, and the only thing we knew was one fact: Tyson had come and said we might be looking at the area for a farm. That's it. They didn't know what kind. They didn't know where. They didn't know how much. They didn't know how big. They didn't know anything. But we had such mass hysteria and panic going on over one semi-fact that you had idiots like
But see,
Eddie.
Drew, that's politics, though, and they were able to grasp onto one issue or one talking point and be able to get the opinion of a lot of individuals. I mean, you know me, I was in favor of the chicken plant. I was in favor of bringing that here because I thought it was going to be huge for jobs. Now, I didn't like how they were talking about the zoning issues and put it in someone's backyard sort of thing, and I think that we could have done a way better job with that, and I think it was almost set up to fail in that sense, and I totally understand why some people came out and said that they didn't like it because they didn't want it to be in their backyard or they were concerned about certain issues with it being right there. So I get that fact. Why didn't we change that aspect of it rather than just wipe away the entire talking point or wipe away the entire topic?
But we didn't even have that. We didn't even have the zoning points. We didn't even have a clue where they were talking about. There was just one simple fact is that in an effort to try and find an increase in of business for the city, for the county, that Commissioner O'Donnell had made an inquiry, had said, hey, would you like to look at us as part of the study? And I mean, we really did. We had people who were out trying to sell their land because they thought that Tyson was buying up land. And the hysteria that came around from it was unbelievable. You know what? We now have Commissioner O'Donnell is got some legal issues. But you know what? We've got just about as much information about what has really, the facts on that as we did with Tyson. But we've got people right now who are ready to go jumping off a cliff again with little to no information, throwing people under a bus, dividing communities, spending massive amounts of money, and I'm pretty sure that by the end, like Tyson, we're going to have a bunch of money from out of the area come in to see what they can do about, throwing some gas on the fire. You know what?
And that's why we need.
Back during that time, there was one position that was nobody liked. It was the one that reasonable people took, which was, hey, let's all hold off for just a few minutes and get some facts before we all start making opinions.
Well, that's a great point. Drew, I appreciate it. I got to take a break here in a minute. But, I mean, I don't want to call people idiots for that. I think that people are very passionate about the issue, but that's why we need outlets like this. So we need to do more of this to be able to have the real facts and information come out. I was in favor of the Tyson plant, the chicken plant. I do agree, though, that a lot of people were very upset and angry with the way that it was being done because we weren't trying to change any of the zoning laws or where they wanted to put it. And it could have been an obstruction. It could have taken some water. It could have been a smell issue. It could have been a whatever. In the communities that didn't necessarily want it. So I understand that. I totally understand that. By the way, when it comes to the whole indictment of Michael O'Donnell, he did plead not guilty yesterday. That was the big story, and feels that he's got a justification and an explanation for what's been going on with his account. And let's see if that he'll be able to come out of this or not. It doesn't sound like he's going to step down. It doesn't sound like he's going to walk away. He's going to fight this, and we'll see what comes of it. So it's going to get heated, and again, that's why we have outlets like this. So as we get information, we can give you the information. So when you talk about living in that district down in that second district for the Sedgwick County, you'll have as much information as we can give you to make the proper judgment on whether you want to support him for a re-election or whether he's going to disappear afterwards. So that's up to you, and that's up to us to be able to get you that information. Got some more calls on line. Stay here. Got to take a break. 23 minutes past the hour. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. 28 minutes past the hour. We got bottom of the hour news in just about a minute and a half here, but let's go to the phones and take another phone call, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Morning, it's Deacon.
Deacon, what's happening, brother?
Hey, you know it, man. It's a beautiful day out here.
Hey, living the dream every day. You get up nice and early and get to see that sunrise, don't you?
Absolutely. But hey, I want to tell you about the 3 most amazing women I've ever known in my life.
Okay.
The first one was my grandma.
Okay.
Her and my papa got married when he was 17 and she was 16, and they were married for almost 80 years. She worked one job for 6 months in her life during World War II when he was over taking Mount Suribachi. Right? He was in the Marines, and he was in the South Pacific during World War II. She was raising 3 children and, taking care of them, taking care of their, she was amazing.
Sure.
Then my mother, single mom, worked 3 jobs. It wasn't nothing she wouldn't do. She went in and she cleaned people's houses. She worked gas stations. When she was in her 40s, she went back to school so that way she could get a high school diploma.
Sure. I tell you what, Deacon, hang tight here. Hang on after the bottom of the hour. I want you to finish this story because this is really important and I want to ask you about the differences in styles of that mothering between these 3 generations, between your grandmother, your mother, and your wife. So hang on the line. Don't go anywhere. We'll get back to you as soon as we come back, because this is really what it's all about today. It's Mother's Day coming up this weekend, and it's important for us to understand what that role is and how it's kind of changed throughout the times. This is The Voice of Reason.
You make me feel invincible. I feel it. Invincible. I feel it. Invincible.
Defending the rights of every Kansan.
I'm not being aggressive, I'm being dominant.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
That's the way we roll today on a Friday. Welcome back into it. It is a free-for-all Friday. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in talking about Mother's Day. But first, I do want to talk about, as it is the summertime, barbecue grills, enjoying the beautiful outdoors. We are starting, and I'm so excited about this, the first annual KQAM KGSO cookbook. Yes, if you have a recipe that you want to include, which I got some that I may have to include as well because it's going to be awesome, we want you to submit your favorite recipe, something that everybody enjoys whenever they come into town or come over for a barbecue or a picnic, whether it's breakfasts or dinners or appetizers or drinks or whatever it may be. We want you to submit your recipe. When you submit, by the way, you do get a chance as well to win a brand new pellet grill from Wichita Tractor. We mentioned this a couple of days ago, and I got a couple of Facebook messages because I had said I've never even heard of a pellet grill before. And Rick Everett, our news director, had mentioned how there are different flavors of pellets that you can use and that sort of thing, which is really cool. And I didn't even know that they had those. But I had some messages on social media saying, oh my gosh, Andy, you got to try this. It's amazing. once you learn it. New Pella Grill, hat tip to Wichita Tractor for providing that one. WichitaTractor.com for them. But all you got to do is submit your recipe. Email it recipe@kqamradio.com. Recipe@kqamradio.com. Email it to us. You get into the drawing for your recipe. Hat tip to Wichita Tractor. So make sure to do that and do that soon because that's going to be coming out relatively soon. All right, wrapping up our conversation with Deacon here. Deacon on the line talking about talking about Mother's Day and the three women that you've looked up to. And you've mentioned it's your grandmother, your mother, and your wife. And talk about the different challenges that each one of them had and kind of the difference in the mothering that you've seen throughout the different times.
Well, my grandmother, she was a stay-at-home mom, so they had to, learn how she had to be able to manage one income to take care of the family, pay all the bills. And, but she was there every morning, waking the kids up, getting them off to school, doing all that kind of stuff. And then my mom, when my dad came back from Vietnam, he wasn't a great guy anymore, so they couldn't stay married, so she was a single mother. And she worked 3 jobs. She couldn't do all those things, but, we got sick, we got hurt. Mom was there.
Sure.
My wife, she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, but we can't make it work on my income. But whenever, every night she makes sure that we have dinner together as a family. She makes sure that we spend the weekend doing something as a family, letting the kids know how important they are to her and to the family. And the biggest kid in our house is me. When I get sick, dude, I'm awful. And she takes care of me.
Sure. Sure.
But she just, she's my hero. Jana Davis, if you're listening, you're my hero, baby.
I love it. I love it.
She's awesome.
Well, Deacon, you're absolutely right, and you know what they always say that the progressives say that the woman trying to stay as the mother and the taking care of the family at home shouldn't be the priority and shouldn't be what they do. But I tell you what, it's more of a challenge for them than really anybody. And as we just heard the story, I mean, it's really equivalent to 2.5 full-time jobs to be a full-time stay-at-home mom to take care of the kids and including the big baby that is the husband. Because you're right, man. When we go down, which I don't get sick very often, but when I go down, I want that mothering, nurturing that my wife gives me, and she does that very good, and I kind of enjoy that.
Absolutely, and like I said, she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, but with the way the economy is, and the way
it's
everything
tough.
costs, you just most people can't do it. And
you can't do it.
When
You're right.
she goes and she works, 8.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, comes home, and
and then does all the
she's a
mom
superhero.
stuff. Yeah, and then does all the mom stuff. I don't know how they do that. Deacon, I appreciate the call very much, my friend, and happy Mother's Day to your family and everybody on that. You're absolutely right, and that's the way. And just as Eddie had said before, that his wife stayed at home when the child was young until they started going into school, then got the job afterwards, and that's probably what's going to happen because my wife likes to go, and is pretty stir crazy, so she'll probably be there until our daughter starts school, and then she'll find something and go out if that's what she wants to do. If not, that's her prerogative. Again, conservatives, we're about choice and the right to choose what you want to do with your career or lack thereof. And if your career is staying home with the family, then that's your prerogative. And the progressives, no matter how much they try and hate that and attack that, then whatever. They're the weirdos that we just have to laugh at and pat on the head and say, oh, how cute. Let's go to Rick with the news.
Boom. It's the humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What's up?
In news. One word. Wind.
Wind? Yeah,
it's blowing out there.
It is. It is pretty insane this morning.
You threw it to me with the news, and I didn't come in for news.
Oh,
I came in for Free for All Friday.
Well, it's a Free for All Friday. Well, I tell you what, then there is, as we're talking about Mother's Day and the role of mothers in society today, as some encourage and say that if you are wanting to be the stay-at-home mom to take care and do the motherly thing at home, then you are a disgrace to women and you need to be out in society competing against men for jobs, so on and so forth. Elizabeth on Facebook Live, as a mom, priority, taking care of the 2 boys, homeschooling them, teaching them the traditional Christian values, trying to re-educate them after the public education, and trying to do what she can at home. Listener Matt, Facebook Live.
Anyone who calls that a disgrace is just flat wrong.
Exactly. You can't be doing stuff like that. And then, listener Matt on Facebook Live, it's really up to the two parents on how they actually styled their livelihood and how they actually want to take care of their family. And it really does come down to that. But there's such a difference in what the role of women were 30, 40, 50 years ago and what they are today. And how do you balance that? We played the story that the average stay-at-home mom is equivalent to working 2.5 full-time jobs just because of the house duties and the motherly duties and the husbandly duties and everything that goes along with all of the craziness with that. And then we see in today's society, whether it's wanted to or not, they go to work, they have to work and then come home and do a lot of that as well on top of it. And I really don't know how many families do this in society today.
You're really blessed and in a unique situation where the employment that your wife has is such that little Isla can go with her because she works at a daycare. I mean, what more of an ideal situation could you want there?
Exactly. And I mean, I've been mentioning that my wife kind of stays at home, but you're right. She does do just 2 or 3 hours a day working at a daycare in the morning and evening. But you're right, because she gets to take the baby with her. It's kind of gets the kid out to go out and involve and have fun and make friends and socialize a little bit and learn that social concept and then have, just a little extra side thing that's kind of nice.
I'm going to clue you in on something.
Uh-oh.
7:42 on Friday, May 11th, 2018, you were instructed that you might want to take a look at referring to Isla in the future as a baby. She's not a baby. You need to let it go or make another one.
I've had so many people tell me that. She is still my little baby. She's going to turn 4 June 1st in just a couple of weeks, and she is really excited about that, and it's going to be a total princess thing. She all wants the princess. She's all about the princesses right now, which is fine, but she's still my baby. I don't know. I still have a hard time not thinking of her as, the little baby, but she's 4. I guess she is a little girl now.
Do you know what that means?
What?
Psychological?
What?
Psychologically is what I tried to say there.
Yes.
It means you need to have another one.
Well,
what's
there you
that
go.
laugh?
There you go.
What's that laugh?
There you go. Well, I guess that's a discussion.
I hope Tiffany's listening too.
Yes. Speaking of babies, by the way,
I feel a segue.
There we go. Speaking of babies, by the way,
Andy,
wait,
stop.
What?
You're turning red.
I am not turning red. I am not turning red. Stop that right now. Stop that. Here is a segue for you. Speaking of the babies, have you heard the expert on how we should treat infants nowadays when it comes to changing their diapers?
Oh, my word. No, I haven't.
Here you go. Let's see if this will play.
How young are some of the children you talk to?
We work from children from 3 years old. We work with parents from birth.
From birth?
Yeah. Just about how to set up a culture of consent in their home. So I'm going to change your nappy now. Is that okay? Of course, the baby's not going to respond, yes, Mum, that's awesome. I'd love to have my nappy changed. But if you leave a space and wait for body language and wait to make eye contact, then you're letting that child know that their response matters.
There you go. We now need consent from babies to change their diapers. We now need consent from children, from babies, from infant babies to change their diapers. That
is not what
that is exactly what she just said. That now, instead of just going and changing the diaper, that you now need consent and you need to ask the baby.
Take the phone call.
You need to ask the baby and make eye contact and get the body language from the baby before you change the diaper to make sure that they are consenting that they want their diaper changed as an infant. Tell me what the role of the mother has changed and the hovering or the there's 2 different types of parents, and we'll get to the call here in just a second. There's 2 different types of parents. There are ones that want to be the best friend because it's all about the consent of asking the child if you want to change their diaper.
That is not at all what I
heard. That is exactly what she just said. There is the second type of parent that controls everything in their child's life, like this one who got rid of tryouts for cheerleading because her daughter did not make the cheer squad, and the mother threatened to shut down the entire cheer team until they opened it up for anybody who chooses to join because her child did not make the tryouts and make the cut.
Do the phone call.
There are 2 different types of parents. The question is, in today's society, again, mothers, which one are you? 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. What's your name?
The world is going mad.
What do you think of that, Sean?
Well, we started off and, we talked about local politics and national politics. That lady obviously had a British or Australian accent, so now we can say the world has gone mad.
The world has gone mad. That was from Australia, yes,
Sean,
I believe.
Sean, I need to ask you, though. Okay, I was sitting here with headphones on. I listened to it. You obviously listened to it. That's not what I heard in that whole little bit.
What did you hear then?
I heard her saying that by talking to the child and asking the child.
So now you need to ask the permission for the child.
Negative. No, what she was talking about was fostering engagement between child and parent, letting them have a part in the process. Sean, is that what you heard?
Well, I guess in an odd way, yeah, that's what I've heard.
Oh, my God. Now I'm odd listening. Now I'm odd listening.
But how on earth does an infant, other than spitting up on you, crying at you, how do they communicate with you to say that they need their diaper change?
Time out. If you listened to the beginning of the story, Andy, she said they worked with children up to 3 years old.
Yes. She is her name is Deanne Carson, and I don't know whether it's Britain or Australia. She is a quote-unquote sexuality expert.
What the hell? Where did that come from?
I don't know. That's her title, Deanne Carson, about giving consent to diaper. And you're right, they work with children. But here's the difference, and here's where it really comes down to. When they grow older, this is the mentality that they have. Do you ask your child, hey, do you want to go take out the trash? And then they say, okay, Mommy, I'll go take out the trash. Or do you say, go take out the damn trash?
Now, is that something that you're thinking, or is that something that they're saying? I think you're taking that and running with it.
But no, do you change the diaper and just change it and say, you need a diaper change, this is what's going to happen? Or do you say, do you want your diaper changed?
Well, bear in mind, it's been about...
You take a sniff test and you say it's time to change the damn diaper.
Exactly. Thank you. You sniff the diaper and say, the diaper needs change. It's time to change the diaper. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen because it needs to be done.
Exactly.
You don't ask them and say, do you want it done? And then they say, mm-hmm.
No, but I think what it is it's a pseudo question to encourage involvement. It's like, hey, it's time to change your diaper. You smell like caca. Are you cool with that? Because it's happening.
You're getting soft there.
Thank you. See, I agree with that.
Love our listeners, Sean.
I love it, my friend. Have a great weekend to you. No, I agree with that. I mean, there's a difference because this is really the formation of the child's mentality of, hey, yes, do they get an input when they get older, and they deserve the input to be able to have their say in a certain conversation. But the rest of the time before that, they learn that when mommy and daddy say something, that's just the way it is. And whether you have an input or not doesn't really matter because it's going to happen. So you just learn to get along with it.
I tell you what, one of the things that I have observed, and I've watched this happen, and I'll give you this one.
Okay.
Is that the parents who are spending more time trying to be the best friends of their kids,
yes,
rather than being parents, are the parents that end up with the children that are the most rebellious, and they have no control over those kids because they've been too darn busy being their best friends.
They've never been told no.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And when they throw that temper tantrum, then they get whatever they want to because the parents don't want to lose that friendship. But then on the other hand, then you have the controlling parents like this that say, if you don't accept my child onto the cheer team, even though they may not have made the cut, then I'm going to shut down the entire cheer team because you shouldn't have tryouts and how dare you exclude people.
And here's another one for you, Parenting 101. The parents that are bailing their kids out of a jam all along, that works really great until the phone call comes from jail saying, Mommy, get me out.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't going to happen.
Not going to happen. You got to let them grow. You got to let them fall down, scrape their knee, eat the dirt, do the thing, put their hand on the stove once and say, yeah, you're not going to do that again, are you? And if they do, then they're probably going to be the ones that are prone to Tide Pods later on, and we'll have to make flavored Tide Pods. But if they do it once and they say, that was a really dumb idea, then probably you know that you've done it right to where they have enough common sense to say, oh, I probably shouldn't do that again. Yeah.
Well stated.
Well stated. There we go. 9 minutes to the top of the hour. We'll take another break here, get your thoughts and calls on the proper parenting and the proper role of women during this upcoming Mother's Day this weekend. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Also, top of hour number 3, we are going to have a special guest from the Clarion Project, Soraya Deen, talking about free speech and radical Islam. Lots to get to today on a Free for All Friday. This is the Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
number 2, lots more to get to in hour number 3. Don't you worry, it is a Friday, a free-for-all Friday. We have a lot of fun. We'll continue this when we come back. The proper role of the mom, of the wife, of the woman in society today. Where is it? What's accepted, what's not accepted? Is it acceptable to still have them choose to stay at home? Is it acceptable? Or how do they do it? I don't know how they do it. They are really super women. We think we're tired as guys going to work and doing the grind every day, but then the wife that takes care of the kid and the husband in the house and then goes to work and does all that too. We found a happy medium, I think, in ours. We're still working on it, obviously. It kind of takes a long time to kind of get that happy medium down. We're still working on it, but I think that my wife and I, we have kind of the happy medium. I try and help her as much as I can with the housework and stuff, so that way it's not all on her, because it's our house together, and we do everything together. But then with her taking care of the child and with me, because, you know, I'm kind of the big baby sometimes as well, and that's the way we roll, it's hard on them. And the story is, as you heard the study earlier in the show, we'll play the audio again, that being a stay-at-home mom is really comparable to having 2.5 full-time jobs, according to that latest study. So is that too much? Is that too much to put on to the wife, to the mother, to the woman in your life, or is that exactly what they want? Is many of them enjoying that because that is their need of how they want to take care of their family? It's a great conversation to have as we're getting ready for Mother's Day coming up this weekend, and the different changes of roles that many are seeing throughout society today between men and women, husband and wife, father and mother. We'll talk about all that and more when we come back. Plus, again, hour number 3, we have our great guests from the Clarion Project. We love chatting with them, talking about some of the national security issues, international affairs, and, of course, radical Islam and free speech. How do we start ending radical Islam, both abroad and here in the United States? We'll talk about that with Soraya Deen when we come back with the Clarion Project. This is your show. As always, it's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Hour number 3 coming up. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
5 states last night had their primaries, and the blue wave is not happening. The excitement, the activism, and right now the Republicans would have been able to maintain every single one of their seats in the 5 states, whether it was a House seat, whether it was a Senate seat, or whether it was the governorship or anything else locally that may have happened in those states. Republicans would have maintained every single one of them. Where's the blue wave, baby? Where is it? We're not seeing it.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
That's what we're saying. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 3, the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, KQAM 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, simulcasting as well on TV, KGPT TV channel 2610. What's up? What's happening? Welcome into it. It is a Friday, the day you've been looking forward to. It is also, let's make it a free-for-all Friday. Today is the day that I don't necessarily bring up the topics, but you do whatever you want to talk about bothering you. Let's have a little chat today because I am your political therapist. Let's do it.
Baby,
come on. All right. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, the Facebook Live feed's up and rolling as well, facebook.com/1480 KQAM. We love having you aboard today on a Friday. It is the Friday before Mother's Day. We've been talking about Mother's Day and really the change in societal's acceptance of what the roles are between mother and father, husband and wife, and where we're at currently today and who's special in your life and some of the trials and tribulations that they've gone through. And we've been talking about that throughout the show today. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a bit. But I do want to shift gears for a second as we do have a great guest on the line. And I'm really excited to chat with her as we continue to talk about freedom of speech. And we talk about dialoguing, which we don't see much of in society anymore. And we see many radical views on maybe religion, on political ideologies, on extremism happening, not only in the United States, but around the world, and ways that we can fight that. And really, the two are linked together between radicalism on any front and freedom of speech versus actually having a dialogue. Because what do they say? That if you're ignorant and you're passionate about something, but yet you're ignorant about the issue, then that breeds some very dangerous circumstances, because nowadays you're not allowed to really have a dialogue. Because if you do have a dialogue, then you are probably the evil fascist Donald Trump supporting Republican pig or something of that sort, to where you're not even allowed to express your opinion, whether they disagree or agree or disagree with it, but you're just wrong and bad, and therefore you shouldn't even be listened to. That is not dialogue, and that is not helping society in any way, shape, or form. And on the phone with us, I'm really excited about this. She's with the Clarion Project Advisory Board. She's also starting the Muslim Women Speakers Movement international activist. It's Soraya Deen on the line with us. Soraya, how are you today?
Hey, Andy. I am great and grateful. May I just shout out to your listeners, me being a mother, they say a mother's heart is a child's classroom. So I want every mother to remember that and wish them a very happy Mother's Day.
Well, happy Mother's Day to you, and I'm so glad that you said that, because, I mean, when we talk about, I know this is not really necessarily on topic here, really, but the public education system and where we are at with who should be taking responsibility to educate our children and raise our children and teach them the right morals and values and ethics and the way to live and the way to have a work ethic and all this. It's the parents' duties, and I tell you what, a mother's touch to that child is really more special than anything else that we could find.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you saying that. Happy Mother's Day to you. You working with fighting extremism, fighting radicalism all around the world, trying to start the dialogue and really trying to fight for the idea of freedom of speech. Is there a correlation between a lack of freedom of speech or a lack of a dialogue in certain areas and people turning towards extremism or fringe ideologies or radicalism? Is there a comparison between the two?
Oh, absolutely, Andy. It is highly connected because, we are going through these unshaken certainties of religion, of belief, of ideas. And with the lack of dialogue, to come to a place and have a tentative conversation, people have closed minds, and it breeds in the form of violence, where we don't listen to one another, speak to one another. It is connected.
I guess the big question is, how can we fight something like that? Because there are many people in society today, even without even like radicalism when it comes to religion, but when it comes to just political differences, to where if you try and express your view on an issue and it's kind of the unpopular view, or it's something that maybe the mass at that time doesn't necessarily agree with, they shut you down. They call you names. They categorize you. They classify you as a nut or as a conspiracy theorist or as a wacko. And then everything that you say thereafter, no one even listens to or takes a listen to, because they just think that you should be dismissed and whatever you say is invaluable.
Yes. So we have a huge problem in our society, because I think people don't want to listen. They have ideas and they want people to accept that. So, as an activist, international activist, there was a time I thought I could change the whole world, but now I'm wiser. I'm coming to realize I can only change myself. Mm-hmm. So, as an Eastern woman, I was born in Sri Lanka, South Asia. There are some spiritual truths we must all embody. At the micro level, we have to change ourselves. So that is a journey that has to be incorporated into whatever we are doing. That's one aspect of it. Because, sure. Changing ourselves itself is hard. So getting people to change the way they're thinking has to be done in a collaborative way, and empathy should be at the root. Just as much we want others to listen, I personally take a different view on that. Am I listening enough is the question I ask. Mm-hmm. So, I think we might all have to go back to the board and start drawing new lines and connecting dots. And you said I'm an advisory member of the Clarion. Yes, I am here because of them. And this is an organization that since 2006 have been fighting radical Islam. So they have they address issues of extremism, Islamism. And what is beautiful about the work they do, Andy, is that they give a voice to people like us who are reformers, who are within the community marginalized. So they give a platform to us, and then also they work to preserve human rights.
Absolutely. They're a wonderful organization with the Clarion Project, and I'm glad that they're able to help fight the fights that need to. Talk about some of the many individuals who may not have left the United States or may just get comfortable. I mean, we see a lot of people that don't necessarily understand or appreciate some of the rights that we have in the United States to have the freedom of speech, to be able to go on social media or come on the radio or go out into the public and say whatever you want to say, really without getting in much trouble or having threats against you, that sort of thing. Talk about the difference that is compared to many other nations like Sri Lanka. And I've been to Sri Lanka. I was there for about a month or so after the tsunami in 2005, and it's such a beautiful nation, and I absolutely love it. But there is a very drastic difference between lifestyle and culture and what's accepted and not accepted in Sri Lanka compared to what there is here in the United States.
Yes. Things have shifted dramatically. We also had a very authoritarian government. Now we have one that is different, which is more people-oriented. So there's way more freedom of speech and expression in Sri Lanka today than during when you went to Sri Lanka. But again, I travel the world. Last year I was in Nigeria 3 times. I've traveled the world, and wow, isn't it so refreshing, and isn't it such a privilege to come back home and have all these freedoms to be able to say what you have to say, to be able to say what you want to say, and not to be punished for that.
Sure.
Of course, we will be judged, but not to be punished is a critical freedom that we must never forget.
That is very true. I mean, we see stories all the time internationally about in the Middle East where someone may be part of the LGBTQ community, it may be gay, and they get beat up and thrown off of 5-story buildings because of that type of lifestyle, or because you're a woman and you showed your face, or you tried to drive, or you went somewhere you weren't supposed to go to, and you get stoned. And there are such scary things in the world that we don't ever experience here in the United States. And then, I mean, we hear people calling about fascism or Donald Trump being terrible, or about the way that we are here in society and how we try and keep people down, which compared to other nations, I just don't see it. And I don't know if it's because we become too relaxed on the freedoms that we have here in the nation, or if it's because we've just enjoyed them so much that we don't necessarily appreciate them. But I don't know where that misstep is, but we need to be able to preserve that and remember how precious it is here in the United States.
Yes, what is precious we must speak loud about, because what we concentrate on the longest becomes the strongest. So we can't take these rights for granted. And I just, I'm so privileged and honored to live here and do my work, because I know this is hard work, because when you speak of reform, when you speak of change, you are challenging the status quo. I am called an Islamophobe within my community. And I know, even as a Muslim, any of these Muslim majority countries who call themselves Muslim, I will not even have the right to stand up there. So, I mean, my message to all Americans who are Muslims is, first, embrace the beauty of what this country has to offer us, no matter if you're an immigrant or if you were born here. Let us first step into that gratefulness, because without gratitude, Andy, nothing will move forward.
Sure. No, absolutely. Talk a little bit about the Muslim Women Speakers Movement, and it's being an international activist and fighting this a lot. Are we seeing any progress when it comes to the Middle East and some of the rights that women have in the Middle East against some of the radicalism that goes on there, and women being able to finally rise up and speak up a little bit louder?
Yes and no. You know, I think religion has always been harsh to women, and particularly the men with beard who have interpreted religion for us. They've kept in place honor killing, FGM, and the subjugation of women. And that is what we are now rising to address. But has it gotten better? Well, Saudi Arabia has now decided women don't need guardians. They can go to the stadium. They can drive. And I don't know, in this age in the 21st century, for me to be called to be grateful for such small mercies, I think is an insult in itself. But what do? You know, sometimes there comes a time you have to be grateful for small mercies. Things are changing. And the Muslim Women Speakers Movement is where I am bringing together. I'm creating the first Muslim women's reform voices. It's a speakers bureau where I am bringing together experts, women from all over the world to address issues on blasphemy, apostasy, Sharia, violence, everything, the questions people have. Because I believe very strongly we must wade right into these issues, take the questions, answer, respond to the contradictions that are within Islam and not shy away from taking full responsibility, because I think nothing is perfect.
Sure.
And if we don't do this work within the United States, this will not happen anywhere else.
That's very true. We're talking to Soraya Deen with the Clarion Project Advisory Board, also with the Muslim Women Speakers Movement. Last couple of questions before we let you go, but I got to ask.
We just began.
I know, we just began. This it goes by so fast. It really does, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. We got to get you back on again because this is such an important fight that we're having, not just in the United States, but all over the world. But I got to ask, with some of the stuff happening in the Middle East and with this movement trying to get women to have a voice again, how helpful or lack thereof has organizations like the United Nations been? Have they been supportive of this? Have they been contributing in any way? Or is it more of the private organizations and private movements and movements like you're doing, just rising up from one individual that's getting a crowd and getting people excited to actually change this? Or has governmental agencies like the United Nations actually been contributing to it?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for that powerful, brilliant question. I mean, Saudi Arabia sits in the Human Rights Council, and they oppress their women. Mm-hmm. This is the question that we have failed to ask. This is why we have abrogated our rights, and Saudi Arabia has hijacked the community, per se. So that is why my call is, sometimes we have to go outside of the community, garner the support, and then come back. And that is where we reformers are in the United States today. And that's why I reach out to even the president. Talk to us. Give us a place at the table, not just a place, but a good place, so that we become relevant within our community.
Sure.
Because I myself am called an Islamophobe, Andy. And last year I drove to Oregon. I drove 1,000 miles and met 1,000 people and showed myself as a Muslim, American who's a Muslim. But when we call for reform, there is this tendency within the community to take it as a personal attack. I think all religions have to be debated, and it's time for us Americans who are Muslims to bring that debate to the forefront. And that is why, again, I want to mention the support we reformers get from organizations like the Clarion Project. They put us where we need to be and support us and hold us with great care and love.
Sure. Well, absolutely. And as you mentioned, I mean, if things get done, the only way they get done is by movements like you're doing and with people wanting to rise up themselves rather than the government agencies that pretend to want to take care of it. But as you mentioned, with Saudi Arabia being on the board and not really doing anything because they do it themselves really shows the hypocrisy within the government, and it's really sad. How can we help? What can we do to continue this? Because as we have the dialogue, as we have the discussion, as we continue to voice, we see it rise up louder and louder and louder until the ones that try to ignore it and continue on with their ways can't ignore it any longer, and it's got to be addressed. What can we do to help out?
Oh, for me, in many ways, invite us for forums like that. Let us take the tough questions. Because I consider everybody who asks me about Islamism, violence, a friend. Because you give me an opportunity to clarify. So invite us. And what I do is I would like to really expand the movement of the Muslim women speakers. Because I feel if the change is going to happen, not only within the Muslim community, anywhere and everywhere, women have to take the lead. So give us a platform, hear us, share our word. And be patient, because as we move forward, wish us well. That's energy is critical.
Absolutely. Soraya Deen, Clarion Project, along with the Muslim Women Speakers Movement. Last question before we let you go. We just got about a minute left, but it has been a few years since I've been to Sri Lanka. How is Sri Lanka now, and how is it recovering from the issue like the tsunami that hit in 2005? And has there been a bit of a change in the government? Because I know when we were there, they still had the civil war going on, and we were limited to where we were allowed to go and actually participate in the recovery.
I hope you will go back, Andy. Things have opened up. I was there 6 weeks ago. Everything is functioning, thriving. But I was deeply concerned to see the Muslim community in Sri Lanka engulfed in the Arabization, in their dress and in the way they are thinking, in the way they are treating the women. I think Saudi Arabia has spread its tentacles far and wide, and Sri Lanka has not been spared. So I am hoping to go back and do some work at some risk and all of that involved. But Sri Lanka is thriving. We are moving forward. and I hope you will visit us again.
I can't wait to get back there. It was one of the, the only time I've actually ever left the country was go to Sri Lanka at that time, and it was an experience that I'll never forget, and I definitely want to get back there. Soraya Deen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Happy Mother's Day to you, and we'd love to get you back on the program again soon.
Thank you so much, Andy. Have a fabulous weekend.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it very much. 24 minutes past the hour. Let's take a break. We'll open up lines to you for the rest of the show. It is Open Lines on a free-for-all Friday. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
9 minutes past the hour. I thought that interview kind of fit perfectly in with the whole Mother's Day theme as we fight for women's rights when it comes to the Muslim community and radical Islam when it comes to the Middle East, because of the fact that, well, we're still fighting for people to even have a voice, even to be able to cover their face. It's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it? 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Let's take a bottom-of-the-hour break. Thanks again to Soraya Deen with the Clarion Project and fighting for Muslim women across the world. We appreciate that. And it was kind of cool. I had no idea she was from Sri Lanka, the one place that I've actually been to. Ha! That was kind of entertaining. It's up to you. It's open lines to you for the last half hour of the show. What's on your mind? We'll touch on Mother's Day again a little bit, plus some politics happening in the state, getting ready for the elections. It's a fun time on a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. Stay right here on The Voice of Reason.
Listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier, your personal political therapist. Give him a call at 721-TALK.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason. As we wrap up today on a Friday, it is a free-for-all Friday. Welcome in. You finally made it, my friends. The light's at the end of the tunnel. Let's have a little fun. Let's carpe diem all over this place, baby, because that's the way we roll every day of the week. Hey, I want to tell you about starting next week. You have kind of a really cool opportunity. We have for you. Oh, yes. We have for you, and we're going to get you registered Monday through Friday next week. We'll do the drawing on the 21st, the following Monday. But we have for you a pair of tickets to the Indianapolis 500. Say what? Yeah, that's right. We got a pair of tickets for you, and we're going to get you registered for it next week, Monday through Friday. We're going to get you registered, one person each day, so you really have a 1 in 5 chance if you get on the registration list. We'll announce that on the following Monday for you to go to the Indianapolis 500, which is on Sunday, Memorial Day, the 27th. Now, it's just the tickets, so it's you got to get yourself there and enjoy and do whatever you do up there, but come on. Pair of tickets to the Indianapolis 500. Yeah, you're going to have a little fun with that. It's brought to you by Autotech, 4411 West Central Avenue. You can visit them, autotechwichita.com, and Sig's Gourmet Meats, 300 South Baltimore Street in Derby, or on Facebook at Sig's Gourmet Butcher Shop. Autotech and Sig's Gourmet Meats, we appreciate them very much for partnering up with us on this promotion. And stay tuned for next week as we get to get you registered for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Indianapolis 500. They say it is the greatest spectacle in racing, and it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
People say being a mom is a full-time job, right? Wrong. It is actually the equivalent of 2.5 full-time jobs. Juice company Welch's surveyed 2,000 American moms and looked into the real experiences and pressures they face on a daily basis. The study found the average mom clocks in at 6:23 a.m. and doesn't stop until 8:31 p.m. for a total of a 14-hour shift 7 days a week, which is the equivalent to 2.5 times more than the average job. And moms only get some me time for just an hour and 7 minutes of the day. So what are their go-to lifesavers? Mom said they rely on constant coffee supply, the ability to nap, being able to put on an effective angry voice, in addition to Netflix, wet wipes, toys, iPads, and wine. But even though it evidently seems like the toughest job in the world, It is also known for being the greatest.
There it is. That is the latest study. Mothers working full-time at home really, in comparison, work 2.5 full-time jobs with taking care of the household, the kid, and the husband all at the same time. How they do it, I don't know, and I totally agree with them with the fact that what they look forward to are naps, wine, and chocolate, and then baby toys with a very stern mother's yell or voice, or very stern talking, because sometimes you just have to lay down the law, baby, and that's what it's all about. What is the role of the mother in today's society? It's been changing. That's what I want to hear from you on today. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Do you still like, as a mother, do you still like being able to stay at home and as your choice, stay at home, take care of the child, and be able to take care of your family? Or do you like the idea or choose for the idea, because it's your choice, remember, you can do really whatever you want to make that choice to go out and compete when it comes to a career and try and have that big career and try and bring in just as much, or if it's about the money, if it's about staying busy, what is it that drives you as a mom? I want to hear from you. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones line number 1. Good morning. What's your name? Hello.
Yeah. Andy?
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, this is good. This is Heath.
What's going on, Heath?
Well, I wanted to first, I guess, say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they deserve a lot, and they do a lot. And second of all, I got a little idea. This is kind of off topic of Mother's Day, but it kind of coincides with the health of the economy in the state and the structure of the state.
Sure.
A comment was made to me the other day that in a few years, due to redistricting in Topeka, in the congressional districts and Senate districts and so on and so forth, that as far as the state goes, all the people west of 81 in a few years will barely, if any, have a voice in Topeka.
Sure.
West of 81 highway, because of the redistricting and the population that it has happened in Johnson County, in Sedgwick County, and so forth. So what I was wondering, if an idea could be floated out there to all the representatives and senators that you visit with and to your listenership, that maybe our whole structure in the state needs to change a little bit and kind of go more toward the model of the U.S. Congress, in that instead of the way it's currently done with the Senate that has roughly 70,000 people per Senate district, maybe we should switch that whole structure to one senator per county. And that way, if something is brought up or decided in the eastern part of the state or in the heavy populated areas, wherever they are, they cannot run over the small populated rural counties of the western part of the state. Because that's exactly the way the U.S. structure was set up, is that the larger, more populated states in the eastern part of the U.S. could not run over the independence of the states in the western part of the United States. And because as it stands now, if we stay on the current path we are, that comment is 100% true, and it might be sooner than we think, that everything west of 81 Highway will barely have a voice at all in the Kansas legislature.
It's a really interesting concept, and I'm glad you brought it up. Now, I never thought of it doing county-wise. I don't know. We can definitely bring it up to the legislature, because we could really change it however we wanted to, as long as we could propose a constitutional amendment to allow it to happen, which historically it seems like we have a very difficult time actually advancing a constitutional amendment, but we'll get to that later. For the idea and for the concept, I don't know if I would necessarily like the idea of doing it county by county, because in a higher populated area, I mean, obviously we're still going to have so many diverse opinions and ideas that having one person represent an entire city of that sort within a county could be kind of detrimental. I've thrown out the idea, and we did this a few weeks ago or about a month or so ago, of the idea of, because the population's been increasing so much, we've never changed the number of legislators that we've had in the state of Kansas since the founding of the state. And I've almost been of the advocate to it may cost us a little bit more, but should we be adding legislators to start downsizing some of the districts, and that way we can have a little bit louder voice within those districts?
That's true. The problem with that is that you would still have the number of legislators would still go up in the heavy populated areas, and the chances of conservatism thriving in those spots is difficult as it is now. I think that challenge would still be there. I don't like the idea of how the district lines get changed and sometimes strategically changed for election purposes and things of that nature. I mean, as a conservative, and I think you'll agree that if we were to have a Senate based on counties, alone, that it would be put upon the counties to elect the best person that those county representatives, the people in that county want. That being said, if there was a huge struggle, I've run this idea by a couple of people, and they've said, well, you would have basically nothing get done because the senators in the western part of the United States would never hardly agree with something that was wanting to get done in Johnson County. And my thought is on that is if we're truly based in conservatism, the less government does, the better we all are.
Sure. Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if we have government gridlock, then we're not going to see anything to really come out of it, and that's almost a good thing to see.
Well, yeah, and eventually a tree bends over, regardless of the time. The wind eventually will push a tree, regardless of how strong it is. It'll eventually bend if the wind is strong enough, and therefore, if the issue becomes so great that it has to get done, either the senators in the western part of the rural part of the state would eventually cave or be flexible, or the ones in the eastern part of the state or the heavy populated areas would eventually flex.
What about
or they would be changed out?
What about a statewide electoral college to where we could maybe redistrict it a little bit based on county, and then we have the electoral college process to still trying to hold up some type of representation for even people in other communities, rural communities compared to larger cities, and we can have a little bit of a say in that way, and we have a number of electoral college votes based on population.
Well, that would be an excellent option too, But I guess, and there may be more options. There may be way more options. But I guess the point is this issue of redistricting and running over the rural part of this state is coming at us like a freight train. Because and that's a strategic goal of the left and of the heavy populated areas. Because just being from the ag sector and being from the rural part of the state, the ag sector is the largest economy of this state. But there's a big push for changing use value on land to market value on land. And, it's like bleeding a prune or trying to draw blood from a prune. You're not, eventually it's going to break that sector. And so anyway, I just wanted to throw that out for discussion if there is any eventually with any of your representatives, because it's going to have to change.
It's great concept and a great point, a great talking point. Heath, I appreciate that very much, my friend. Have a great weekend to you, and happy Mother's Day to your family there. It's a great point to take in. You're right. We're losing voices, and we feel like that we don't necessarily have as much of a voice because the population's growing within our district, within our area. So therefore, there are more votes to potentially cancel you out or to support you one way or another. And in larger populated areas, it's predominantly more on the left-wing progressive side of the aisle because more populated areas like to be a little bit more progressive as opposed to the more traditional rural communities. And there's a big lifestyle difference between the two. And I don't know, I would be primarily, I think, in support of more of an electoral college process for the state. So that way we could see at a statewide level how to be able to make those votes happen and the voices heard as much as we possibly can to represent and defend some of those rural communities. I think I would be in favor of increasing the number of legislators in the Senate and in the House based on population and break those down into smaller districts. So that way, when your voice is heard, they do have to fight for less votes, and each one of those votes counts even more so. And when you speak up, then it's heard a lot louder as well. So I would be in more sense of that too. And because of there's more legislators, and that means that there's going to be more people to fight in Topeka, which means we're going to see less things done, which means we could have a potential to actually change the tide a little bit. But on the other hand as well, if we break that up and we have a large population like the city of Wichita and we have more elected officials in those districts or more districts in the city, then we would have more Democrats up there as well, predominantly, or a guesstimation. And that could potentially harm us as well. So there's a lot to think about that, and you're right. We want to make sure our voice is heard the best way that we know how to. Going into election year this year, how can we make our voice heard? How can we be active the best way that we can? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about over the next few months going in to this election. Let's take a break. 48 minutes past the hour. We'll wrap up the show one more time when we come back with your thoughts and calls. This is The Voice of Reason on KQAM.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today. It is a Friday. The Free For All Friday rolls right along as we're kicking some you-know-what and having a little fun doing it, too. 316-721-8255. This portion of The Voice of Reason brought to you by the Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street in downtown Inman, just north of Hutch, as it is also a Fried Chicken Friday. Their buffet from 11 to 1 for lunchtime. Their big buffet, 5 to 8 o'clock. Tonight, it's going to be a heck of an ordeal. Katie's back on the line with us. And by the way, Katie, happy Mother's Day to you.
Oh, thank you.
Happy
That's
Mother's
awesome.
Day.
You tell Tiffany I said the same.
We will definitely do so. It's going to be a fun weekend. And I know everybody's going to get excited. They're going to try and enjoy, do something special this weekend.
Yes.
Today's the perfect time to do so with your Fried Chicken Friday. What's on the slate for you today?
So today, besides the fried chicken, we've got what's called pork tetrazzini. So that's a spaghetti with pork, and then it's a white sauce. I don't know. It smells really good. It's got some basil in there. It's got celery, onions. And then after that's baked up real good, then we'll put some cheese on top because the recipe actually doesn't call for cheese, but I can't imagine this dish without cheese. To me, that's like a serious breach of cooking etiquette is to not put cheese on something called tetrazzini.
See, that is very true. So, absolutely.
Yeah, cheese. And then we're also going to have a chicken pot pie, so that's the chicken and the vegetables and the homemade sauce, and then it's going to have it's biscuits on top. Okay, and then besides that, we're going to have a garlic and dill baked tilapia. So I've already sautéed the garlic and the dill in the butter, and then we'll kind of drizzle that over the fish and bake it right before we put it out. Because obviously we're not going to serve you frozen fish. We're going to make it first.
I love it. I love it.
And then from 5 to 8 this evening, of course, we'll have our famous roast beef out there, along with whatever delicious cornucopia of goodness we put out there that we have. So let's see. Oh, pie. Okay. So today we've got yes, because it comes with pie. I just got off the phone with a gentleman who was listening to us talk earlier, and he wanted to know, what all came and everything like this. And so I will tell you that the evening buffet is $13.95 is the price of that, and it comes with the full buffet, salad bar, drink, and the pie for dessert. Okay, that's
fantastic.
A big value right there.
Absolutely,
it's all your stuff. Yeah. So we've got coconut cream, chocolate cream, key lime, cream cheese, rhubarb, oatmeal raisin. That's like a cookie kind of, cherry, custard, and banana split. So,
that's going to be one heck of a lineup there, and you're right. Get there, get your slice of pie as soon as you walk in the door, and then all the goodies that come along with that. Because really, I mean, come on, between roast beef and fish and chicken and everything else, you really can't go wrong.
That's right. And, I have to tell people, because sometimes people come in here and they're really surprised that there's more on there than what I've told you. I don't have time to tell people everything. Because there's a lot of stuff. There's homemade salads, there's vegetables, there's gravies, there's different potato-type things. I mean, there's homemade dinner rolls. I'm talking, there's lots of stuff. I just don't have time to go over it all with you people.
Well, sure. And it's kind of the icing on the cake as you get there thinking that you're going to get the fried chicken and some of the other goodies you mentioned. Yeah. And then there's a heck of a lot more options for you. So it is truly really like a buffet-style deal where you get a whole bunch of different goodies. And again, wheelbarrows sold separately to wheel you outside of the restaurant afterwards.
I really need to get some wheelbarrows. That would be great.
Oh, you need to. You need to. There you go. Get some and just set them right outside and say purchase for extra charge. There you go.
Right.
I like that. It's the Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street, downtown Inman. Give them a call, 620-585-6925, 620-585-6925, or visit them online, inmanharvestcafe.com. Katie, you guys enjoy. It's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be beautiful weather, and happy Mother's Day to you, and you guys are going to have fun this weekend.
That's right. Thanks, Andy. We'll talk to you next week.
There we go. Always a good time. That's Katie with the Inman Harvest Cafe. Appreciate them here on the Voice of Reason and the KQAM airwaves. So we appreciate all of our sponsors, by the way. We have some really fantastic advertisers and sponsors. It's great to have the support of the local community. As we talk about controversial issues at times that get people's blood boiling, that gets people all riled up at times, that gets people to disagree or agree with us, and it comes very partisan. You see people going after Laura Ingraham and her advertisers. You see people try and go after Rush Limbaugh and his advertisers, or you see people go after whoever. You see social media trying to silence Joe Pags and many other shows on social media trying to get the word out, and it's really become divisive and partisan. But let me tell you something. Here in our community, we're awesome. We have people that actually want to call and dialogue and debate with me. We have advertisers that disagree with my political views, but yet they understand that it's still an outlet to get news and information out there, and they still advertise with us. And we love that, and we appreciate it, because that just shows the unity that we have in our community. We couldn't ask for anything better. So thank you all for sponsoring and helping us out be able to do what we do. This is your show. As always, it's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Happy Mother's Day, mothers out there. Enjoy the weekend. This is the Voice of Reason.